Welcome, you curious learners, to another deep dive. Have you ever, finished an article or a book, maybe even a lecture, and just felt the details
Oof.
fading, like really fast?
Oh, absolutely. It's like trying to hold water in your hands, isn't it? We spend all this time consuming information, but making it actually stick, that's a whole different game.
Yeah, it really is. You feel like you're working, highlighting, taking notes, but then poof, gone. It's this common struggle, right? How do we actually integrate what we learn, not just, well, skim the surface?
Precisely. And a lot of what we think is learning is often just pseudo work.
Mhm.
Activities that look productive, maybe feel productive, but don't lead to real understanding or recall.
So today we're going to challenge some of those maybe deeply ingrained habits. We're diving into some fascinating ideas, specifically from Jordan Peterson, on how to really remember what you read and hear.
Yeah, his take is often quite counterintuitive, but really powerful if you apply it. It's about making sure information becomes part of you, not just something you've glanced at.
Right. So our mission is to unpack these strategies for lectures, for books, basically for anyone who wants to learn quickly and thoroughly without that feeling of just being swamped by information.
Exactly. We're aiming for practical, maybe even mind-shifting approaches.
Yeah.
Ways to turn encounters with information into genuine, lasting understanding and recall.
Okay, so let's dive right in. First up, lectures. Most of us, myself included, instinctively grab a pen, open a laptop, start taking notes during the talk. It just feels like the right thing to do.
It does, doesn't it? It's almost automatic.
Yeah.
But Peterson's advice here is, well, it's pretty blunt. He basically says, don't take notes during the lecture. Listen to the damn lecture.
Whoa. Okay, so just
Not
listen.
just listen. Just listen. He argues pretty strongly that trying to write and listen simultaneously means you're not really doing either one properly.
Yeah.
You're focused on transcription, not comprehension, not really hearing it.
Okay, I can see that. You're trying to catch words instead of ideas, but
Yeah.
isn't there a risk you'll just forget everything if you don't write it down immediately?
Yeah.
That feels a bit scary.
It does feel scary. It goes against everything we've been taught, pretty much. But here's the key part. You take notes afterwards.
Afterwards. Like how long afterwards? And what's the real benefit there? Is it just about listening better in the moment?
Well, listening better is definitely part of it. But the main benefit of waiting is that it forces you into active learning. It becomes an exercise in remembering.
Ah, okay. So not just copying, but actually pulling it out of your own head.
Exactly. You have to actively retrieve the information. Think about what was important, what you understood. It's not transcription, it's reconstruction. And that act of retrieval, that's like doing a rep in the gym for your memory. It strengthens the connections.
Retrieval practice. Okay,
Yeah.
I've heard of that. So the note-taking after the lecture is actually a form of self-testing.
Precisely. You're instantiating the information, as Peterson might put it, making it more concrete in your mind because you had to generate it yourself, not just passively receive it. Now, maybe not for like a super technical math lecture with complex formulas.
Right, where every symbol counts.
Yeah, exactly. But for most subjects, where it's about understanding concepts, arguments, narratives, this method forces deeper processing right from the get-go.
Okay, so what should those post-lecture notes look like then? Is it just a brain dump, or is there a structure he recommends?
Good question. It shouldn't just be a random splurge. It's more about distillation. You'd sit down, maybe a little while after the lecture, give your brain a chance to consolidate a bit.
Like within a few hours, maybe?
Yeah, ideally. And then you'd focus on, say, the core concepts. What were the absolute main takeaways? Maybe formulate a few summary sentences in your own words.
Okay.
And importantly, what questions do you still have? What wasn't clear? And how does this connect to other things you know? It's about recall, but also elaboration and connection, making links.
Making links. Got it. That makes the retrieval more meaningful than just listing facts.
Yeah.
All right, so that's lectures listen first, actively recall, and note later. Now, what about reading? This is where the highlighter often comes out, right? Or underlining. That's practically chapter 1 in the How to Study playbook for many.
Ah, yes, the highlighter. Peterson is not a fan. He pretty much calls highlighting and underlining rubbish.
Rubbish. Wow. Okay, no mincing words there.
None at all. He sees it as classic pseudo work. It feels like you're engaging with the text, you're doing something physical, your book looks thoroughly studied.
Yeah, lots of bright colors.
Exactly. But he argues it creates a false sense of familiarity. You recognize the highlighted bits later, but that's not the same as truly knowing or being able to recall the idea. You're just coloring.
Okay, I'm slightly wounded as a frequent highlighter user, but I
yeah.
see the point. Recognition isn't recall. So if we ditch the highlighter, what's the alternative? Just read passively. That doesn't seem right either.
No, definitely not passive reading. His alternative is much more active, much more demanding, frankly,
Mm.
but also much more effective for actually learning. It's a multi-step process.
Okay, lay it on us.
Right. So first,
Mhm.
read a small chunk, maybe a paragraph or two, maybe a page, depending on how dense the material is. Don't try to read like 30 pages at once.
Okay, digestible chunks.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Second, and this is crucial, close the book or look away from the screen. Remove the source.
No peeking back.
No peeking.
Yeah.
Third, think about what you just read. Don't just jump to the next paragraph. Mull it over. Grapple with it a bit.
Okay, thinking time.
And then fourth, the really key part. Write down what you remember, and this is his specific phrasing, in the context of what you're thinking about.
In the context of what you're thinking about. That sounds deeper than just summarizing. What does that actually mean? What kind of thinking are we talking about here?
Right. It's not just spitting back the author's points. It's about integration. Peterson describes his own process. When he closes the book, he thinks about how this new idea connects to everything else he knows.
Everything else, like his whole knowledge base.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
He asks himself things like, okay, what's the significance of this idea for that other concept I understand? Or how does it relate to this problem I've been thinking about? And critically, do I actually believe this? Why or why not? How could I criticize this idea?
Wow. So it's like an internal dialogue, testing the idea against your existing mental framework.
Exactly. He talks about attaching little memory hooks to the information, connecting it in maybe, he says, 5 different ways. It's about making multiple connections, multiple pathways to that information.
5 different ways. Like, can you give some examples? What would those hooks look like in practice? Is it like finding analogies or?
Yeah, it could be analogies, or it could be, how does this relate to a personal experience? That's one hook. What's the opposite argument? That's another. Where could I apply this idea in the real world? There's a third. What's the history behind this? Fourth, can I visualize this concept? Fifth.
Okay, so it's about actively linking it across different dimensions. Personal, critical, practical, historical.
Precisely. You're weaving it into the fabric of what you already understand. You're not just storing an isolated fact. You're building a network. And that makes it, as he says, part of me, truly integrated. It's much harder to forget something that's connected in so many ways.
This really highlights that difference you mentioned earlier between just recognizing something and being able to truly recall it. Like, highlighting helps with recognition, maybe. But this process sounds geared entirely towards recall.
Absolutely fundamental, that distinction. Recognition is passive. Yeah, I've seen that phrase before.
Yeah.
Recall is active. Okay, let me explain that concept in my own words. Peterson stresses that when you recall something complex, you are literally practicing remembering it. You're strengthening the neural pathway.
Right, like lifting that mental weight again.
Exactly. Recognition doesn't build that muscle. Active recall does. That's how you build deep understanding and memory that lasts.
Okay, so we've got listen first for lectures, recall later, read small chunks, close the book, think critically, connect widely, then write. What's the final step to really cement it, to make sure these ideas become ours, not just something we read in a book?
This last piece is sort of the capstone, I think. It ties into that writing step. He says, don't just write down the author's sentence, even from memory. Read the sentence, close the book, think about it, and then reformulate it in your own words.
Ah, so translate it into my own language.
Exactly. Make it your sentence. That act of translation, of rephrasing, forces a deeper level of processing. You have to truly understand the idea to express it differently. That's what makes it stick. It becomes your understanding, not just a borrowed phrase.
So the whole process boils down to read, think, write, but with very specific meanings for each step. Separate the reading, listening from the note-taking, synthesizing.
You got it. Separate the intake from the processing and output. Read, think, write, listen, think, write. It's deliberate multi-stage learning.
So let's tie this all together. For you listening, trying to learn efficiently but also deeply in this, crazy information age, what's the big takeaway here? It sounds harder initially.
It is more effortful up front, definitely. It's not passive. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, these strategies are like an antidote to superficial learning and information overload.
How so?
Well, instead of just letting information wash over you, maybe highlighting a bit, you're forced into profound engagement. You move from just seeing or recognizing to actually transforming that information into knowledge that's integrated, connected, and accessible in your own mind.
So it's about building real comprehension, not just familiarity.
Exactly. Genuine comprehension.
Yeah.
It leads to more efficient learning in the long run because you actually retain it and can use it.
Okay.
These aren't just quirky tips. They're methods for cultivating a mind that can truly learn, analyze, and remember. You're building a robust internal framework.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive has definitely challenged some very common habits, things that feel productive but maybe aren't as effective as we think. That
Yeah.
core idea really resonates. Real learning, real memory comes from active processing after the initial exposure, not during. It's about the thinking, the recalling, the reformulating, making it yours.
Indeed. It requires that deliberate effort.
Mhm.
So maybe a final thought for you to chew on. Think about your own learning. How much of it is based on passive recognition versus active recall and integration?
Yeah.
When you encounter new ideas, are you just letting them pass through? Or are you actively wrestling with them, connecting them, making them truly a part of your own understanding? What one small change could you maybe make today based on these ideas to start owning what you learn more deeply?
That's a powerful question. Really makes you think about the difference between consuming information and actually building knowledge. Great place to leave it. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We really hope these insights help you on your own learning adventures.